Friends, at this time we are going to begin the services for Goldie B Rayman. If you have a cell phone or a pager, I would ask for you to please take a moment to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And officiating today's services will be Rabbi Michael Tillman.
Friends, before we begin the service, we shall perform a very ancient ritual, which is called Kriya in the Hebrew language. The ritual in question goes back to the biblical period of our history. In the biblical text, in the text of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, we often find that whenever people receive bad news of a passing of a loved one, they would tear their clothes and put a dust upon the head as a sign of mourning. And the custom of rending our garment when the close relative passes away, we have retained in our community to this day. Therefore, this time I will tear the ribbons given to the immediate family of Goldies. Even if you never opened the text of the Hebrew Bible, you still will know who Abraham was. How can you not? Everybody knows who Abraham was. Abraham Avinu, Abraham our father, the founder of our spiritual tradition. And you also would know, again, even if you never read the text, never studied it, you also would know that Abraham was a nomad. He moved from one place to another. And our rabbi suggested that wherever Abraham would stay for a lengthy period of time, he would always plant a tree. Now, let me remind you, all those events happened in the desert, right? So wanting to plant a tree is a very reasonable idea. And then the rabbis asked this following question. They asked, what kind of tree was it? Then they gave the answer. It was Etz Chaim, the tree of life. Now, you might be aware of the fact that in the Jewish tradition, the tree of life is not obviously a physical tree, an actual tree, but rather it refers to the system of our values. Very often, this tree of life expression is a metaphor for the Torah. Originally, it is found in the book of Proverbs, where King Solomon discusses wisdom. So he refers to wisdom as the tree of life. But then our sages expanded it to refer to the Torah, through the system of our values. In other words, what they're saying is that Abraham left behind the tree of life, the legacy that endures, and in fact, up until today, continues to influence the evolution of the human civilization. Now, the reason I decided to share this idea with you is because there are no exceptions, we all plant our own tree. Because every human being, simply must plant that kind of tree, must leave legacy, must live life that matters, that makes the difference, that changes the world. In order to change the world, there is no need to perform a big revolution or make a great scientific discovery. One Kabbalist said that in order for the world to become perfect, one needs to displace every object of the universe just slightly. Every object, but just slightly, just a little bit. Which means that the world becomes better when we do those small, great deeds. Simple example. Well, just love your family, right? Just cook that brisket for Thanksgiving. That's what makes the world better. That's what brings the perfection of the world closer. So, when we gather together to commemorate someone whom we lost, is it about the pain that we all feel? Of course it is, yes. And it is sad to realize that Goldie is no longer with us. But at the same time, we also must understand, so now she's back together with Steve. And then as we believe in our tradition, they petition God on our behalf. so that we here on earth would live well. Now, today we mourn together. Today we're here to support Stacey, Josh, and Mark, to support one another. But yet, there is something more important than that. And what is more important than that is Goldie's tree of life. The tree of life that she has planted. The legacy that she is leaving behind. A beautiful, enduring legacy. And again, that tree of life does not need to be ornate. There is no need to win Nobel Prize. It's a nice thing if you do. There's no need to become a billionaire. I'm not saying it's bad either. But that's not what really matters. What really matters actually is what Goldie did. Family was everything. She defined her mission in this world with one simple and noble word, mishpocha. It's really all that truly matters. That's all that truly mattered to her. That is why Goldie's tree of life is a source of inspiration, a good example to all of us. In the Jewish tradition, we recite Psalms when we gather together for a memorial service or a funeral. We know we recite them. The question is, why do we recite them? For what? What was the reason? Because they're not sad. Psalms are not sad. We think they are, but if you look at the text of every single psalm, there is no sadness. It is true that many of those psalms were composed at the time of a personal crisis. And yet, they all univocally affirm one and the same positive idea that God is the source of our strength, even on the darkest day of our lives. But we also must remember that God's support can only manifest itself through one particular phenomenon in this world, through our support of one another, through our love for one another. Because God is not in heaven, God is not in our hearts, God is in a relationship between human beings. You don't need to be a theologian to understand that. You need to simply feel it and live that way, that's all. So, Psalm 23, probably the most famous one, attributed to King David. I'll recite it in Hebrew. You might have it in your booklets, and therefore I invite you to join me, if you wish, with the English interpretation. Mizmor le-David, Adonai roi lo yachsar, benot deshe yarbetzeni al mei minachot yanachaleni nafshi yeshuvev, yancheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shmo, gam ki elech begei tzal mavet lo yirara, ki ata imadi, shivtecha mishantecha hema nachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorarai, deshanta b'shemen roshi kosi rabaya, ach tov v'hesed yardafuni kol yamei chayai, v'shavte b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Please join me if you wish. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Whilst anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The soul of our dear Goldie is now with the Almighty One, but she will also continue to live here on earth in our hearts and our minds. So let us contemplate and reflect on the tree of life that Goldie has planted. Now, she arrived in this world in Chicago. I know the year, I wrote it down, but I'm not going to talk about that. She was a lady, right? We're not going to talk about those numbers. She was a lady. I always say, it's my line, so I can repeat it as much as I want. Women do not age, and men do not grow up. So, I'm looking at you, Mark. Looking at you, Josh. Well, Stacey, you can confirm it's true. Yeah, right. Be it as it may. The family lived in West Rogers Park, and Goldie's parents were really wonderful people, and it was, again, I'm not going to give a specific year, I wrote it down, but it was the time, was a period of our history when many Jews who were refugees from Europe were coming into the United States in large numbers. And obviously there's Jews from Europe, primarily Eastern European Jews, would be arriving in our country, and they wouldn't speak any English. They obviously needed a new life, and quite obviously it was the time when Europe was devastated by the World War II. And Goldie's parents would take these people into their apartment. And not only would they help them to get started in the new country, but Goldie also helped those people by, well, teaching them English. So she was a woman of big heart, you all know that. But I wanted to share this story with you just to stress that this was Goldie from the very outset. She didn't learn this. It was in her heart all along. Always was. She genuinely loved people throughout her life. And again, it's a quote, she never met a stranger. She was very outgoing that way. She went to Mather High School, which back then was a new phenomenon. It was built. It opened in the '60s. So basically, Goldie was one of the, maybe not the first, but one of the first graduating classes. Following which she obtained her teaching degree at National Louis University, taught elementary school. Then, she met Steve. They got married. 74 it was, right? 1974 they got married. And then she was blessed with children, and that was the reason why Goldie decided to dedicate herself to taking care of the family, taking care of the kids. Now, when the kids became a little older and were more or less able to, go to school and come back by themselves, right? Like many women of that generation, Goldie went back, took some jobs part-time, and then eventually she became a tax preparer. And that was a job that she immensely involved. I think there was a neighbor who was an accountant or something like that, some kind of a story that told her, we have a project, we need some people, would you like to try it? So she said, yeah, sure, Well, not only did it keep her busy, not only did it bring some income, but she really immensely enjoyed doing that. And eventually she retired because at that point, I think Steve's health began to decline, so she had to kind of dedicate more time to the family for that very reason. Now, one of the things that Goldie truly valued is, as I said, it was the family, but what really matters is that she loved to get people together, the family and friends as well. And of course, for the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, she would throw a big. Now, there is an Eastern European Jewish tradition that when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, comes to major Passover, for example, Pesach, the Seder, you put out your best china and your best crystal. That's what Goldie always liked to do. The best china, the best crystal she had, because it has to be fancy dinnerware. And of course, she cooked brisket. I already mentioned brisket. That was big. She cooked our traditional Jewish foods, what we call comfort foods. She enjoyed cooking such an interesting dish as kasha and noodles. Kasha and bow tie pasta, right? It is, which is really interesting because it's the carbohydrates plus more carbohydrates. So this is a defiance of nutritional science. But it's the Jewish tradition to define in nutritional science. If you look at the Jewish foods, brisket defies it too. She was very active when Stacey and Josh were growing up. She was very active in school. She was active in the PTO. She volunteered, and again, making this world better by basically being involved and performing those good deeds. They may appear to be small, but they really are great. I already mentioned why. Explained why. That was what Goldie enjoyed doing. One of the things that Goldie enjoyed a lot was her telephone. I don't know why you're laughing. It's not a joke. It was a serious matter. And she would always have it with her, except for those occasions when she needed to have it with her. But other than that, she always had it with her. Yeah. She liked to play with that telephone, and it would result in accidental phone call to her family and friends. Now, look, let's be realistic. It happens to all of us that we would just press that screen by accident. So it happens occasionally. Now, to Goldie, it happened more than occasionally. And therefore, many of you know what Stacey described as two mama ring. Because when by the time you realize you didn't intend to call this person, it rings twice, and then you hang up. And that's what the addressee, they suppose that it gets on their phone. Oh well. But of course, Goldie would say, I didn't call you, it was my phone that called you. Yeah. The phone did it all by itself. Goldie enjoyed food. Well, she was a Jewish person. We like food. We like to eat. And besides cooking, which she enjoyed herself, she loved to eat outside. She loved to go out to eat. She liked sloppy Joe. It's one of the things that she enjoyed. And again, being Jewish, of course, she liked the Chinese food. It's part of the Jewish tradition. We all do. She liked the pizza. Favorite topping: mushroom, sausage, onion. But this was wise, because don't make it 4. 4 and more toppings, the pizza will get soggy. Don't do that. She knew how to do it right. She was but she enjoyed sweets too. She enjoyed baking as well. A raspberry coffee cake was among her favorites. We can go on and on about her culinary taste, which was sublime. She knew what's good, right? Now, there's another thing that Goldie considered to be very important in life. You did not call her. You really, really did not call her during a particular time of the day. That time came at 11:30 a.m. Because a CBS show would come on. And she watched them. Well, basically, it's 20 hours a week, because I think it's a daily thing, right? It's a soap opera. Yes, that's what she wanted to do. So now I'm going to try to avoid looking at Mark and trying to keep the straight face when I'm going to name that show. The first was called The Bald and the Beautiful, and the next one immediately following was called The Young and the Restless. I can't believe this. I got it right. So it's not The Bold and the Restless and The Young and the Beautiful. It's all the same. But hey, listen, she enjoyed it. It's all that matters. But you don't call her. You didn't call her during that time. Never. If she knew you called her, she would be not very happy at all. She also enjoyed a actually seriously good show, Law and Order, the original one, where Jerry Orbach was one of the starring actors who played Detective Sisko. That one was good. She enjoyed that a lot. And lately, she got into these Hallmark movies. Okay, they're cheesy, but they're fun for the ladies. That's fine. I also would like to stress what a good friend Goldie was. If you became a friend, she kept those friendships truly for a lifetime. I'm not going to dwell on that at length, because one of Idris' friends, Susan, will speak, and I'm sure she'll touch upon that. But I would like to also acknowledge most important part of Goldie's life, the family. As I said, that was her mission in life. All these good things that we discussed, it's great, it's fun, but family was all that mattered. And her beloved husband, Steve, Allah Shalom, may his memory be a blessing. They were together, they were married for 49 years. 49 years prior to Steve's passing. Unfortunately, he was quite ill for the last several years of his sojourn in this world. And Steve's passing actually was very hard on Goldie. It was very hard. I recall our conversation. It was hard, and she was not super healthy at that time herself, really. But when Steve departed, her health condition, began to decline, because it was a big loss for her. God blessed her with wonderful children, with wonderful kids. It is a mission of every parent to make sure that your child grows up to be a good human being. Career matters. All those they all matter. But the most important part is when the moment arrives and I say to myself, my daughter, my son grow up to be a good person. That's when I'm done. That's when I have completed my mission. And she was rightfully proud of Stacey and Joshua, for wonderful children. And Margaret's son-in-law, who really was like a son to Goldie. And I had also an honor of officiating, celebrating Stacey and Mark's marriage. She was there too. She was very happy. And I thought to myself, really, I said, Mark is marrying well, because Stacey was able to tolerate Mark's and mine endless conversations about hockey. And Stacey was just sitting there, and she was fine, more or less. Which means, again, Goldie raised a wonderful daughter who knows how to tolerate man's idiosyncrasies, right? Anyway, my friends, let us now continue to reflect on Goldie's tree of life, to contemplate the beauty thereof through the thoughts and reminiscences of her loved ones. And I would like to invite Stacey to share her thoughts about her mother. Yeah, Mark's coming up too.
I'm going to attempt to make this lighthearted because if it's serious, I might not make it through it. Mom was an amazing woman. She was my birthday twin. She always said that I was the best birthday present that she ever received. May 24th will never be the same. Dad was the love of her life. She would do anything for him. After he passed away in 2022, Josh, Mark, and I became her everything. She loved us so much. She was so proud of everything that we did. She loved that I enjoyed cooking as much as Grandma Minnie did. I would cook her meals to put in the freezer, and she would reheat them. Most of the time, they didn't even make it into the freezer, because she would start munching on them the minute I brought them into the house. She would rave about each and every meal I would make. She loved my sloppy joes, meatballs, mini chicken pot pies, and of course, raspberry bars, which I never gave her my secret recipe for, no matter how many times she begged for it. She loved how dedicated Josh was to work. He has the strong work ethic that she had. She loved how he would stay at the house with her at least once a week and spend time with her. They'd have dinner together and then each go into their separate spaces, just like her and Dad used to do. When Mark left GameStop to start his career in banking, she was so excited for him. When he started the process to become a licensed banker, besides me, she was his biggest supporter. She beamed with pride every time he passed an exam. She said that it reminded her of when Dad was studying and taking his insurance exams. Mom definitely was a creature of habit. She loved her caffeine-free Diet Coke, Cheeto Puffs, Hershey bars, and ice cream. She would try to make me order it every time I did a grocery order for her. And when stuff wasn't on sale, she would always complain and say, "Why is it so expensive?" As we all know, her most prized possession was her telephone. My house is way too quiet now without her calling me 100 times a day. Or her calling me 15 times and the other 85 being her phone dialing me because, as she would say, it was broken. I'm sure you all miss hearing her voice on the other end of the line as much as I do. And everyone also knows not to call her between 11:30 and 1 when her soaps are on, otherwise you'd get the evil Goldie voice asking why you were calling then. Her independence was very important to her. Giving up driving was especially hard, but she was extremely lucky to have such amazing friends who would always pick her up to go out to eat. She also grew to love the Wheeling Township shuttle. We'd set up rides for her to take to her two favorite stores, Dollar Tree and Trader Joe's. While she wasn't a huge sports fan, she still liked to keep tabs on the Cubs. She loved Anthony Rizzo. She thought he was so cute. After he was traded, she used to always ask me why he wouldn't re-sign with them. If only she was still alive today, since he is coming back to the Cubs as a player tomorrow for one day. She'd be so excited to know he is retiring as a Chicago Cub. Mom was a wonderful woman. She was caring, loyal, funny, loving, and had the biggest heart out of anyone that I have ever known. We love you, Mom. We'll miss you.
Thank you, Stacey. Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
I already mentioned a dear friend of Goldie's, Susan, and at this time I would like to invite her to come forward and share her thoughts, reminiscences about this wonderful lady.
Hello, everybody. I'm Susan, and I could say without any doubt that I have known Goldie longer than anyone else here today. We met each other on Pratt Boulevard in Rogers Park on our walk to Joyce Kilmer School. It was 1955, and we were 6 years old. Our friendship spanned 7 decades. That's a lot of years to have the same best friend. How lucky we were. We have always been there for each other, sharing, caring, and loving. Through the highs and lows of life, we have an uncountable amount of memories that will be in my heart and mind until we are reunited. Like our 3-day-long Monopoly games, on our numerous weekend sleepovers, shopping on Devon Avenue, L rides to downtown for lunches and movies, and endless hours talking on the phone, to name a few. We promised each other that together we would grow to be old ladies and share an apartment and take care of each other. And now I'm mad at you. And I told you that I was mad as we held each other's hands just a week ago. I will forever consider myself lucky and so very grateful to have had you as my best friend. You were there without judgment, celebrating my joys, understanding my struggles, a constant source of comfort in this crazy world of ours. As I told you on one of your last days, I can't imagine my life without you, but I know that I will be okay, as I will forever cherish the memories we made. And together with Stacey, Josh, Mark, and Ellen, we will honor your life and be there for each other. Goldie, you will always and forever be my BFF. I love you and will miss you every single day. Your memory will always be a blessing. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. And it is my pleasure to invite Josh to come forward and share his thoughts about his mom. Josh, do you want me to get you some water?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, I'm going to get some water.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for being here and showing love and support to my mom, sister, brother-in-law, and me. It means so much to us all. I'd like to thank Rabbi Tillman for the kind words about my mom. She would have loved it. When I think of mom, there are many ways to describe her. Talkative. One of the things I remember most is her being able to have random conversations with strangers. There were many occasions where her, my dad, and I would go out to eat, and my dad and I would be at the door waiting for her. We would turn around and look for her and see her having a random conversation with someone she had never met. As has been mentioned, when I picture my mom, it's either with a telephone, a Diet Coke, or the TV on. She was also a big foodie. My mom loved going out to eat and food in general. I may have gotten my love of snack foods from my dad, but I believe I got my love of going out and fast foods from her. She loved pizza, Raising Cane's, Chinese food, Sloppy Joe's, and raspberry cake. She was also a big fan of baking. As recently as 5 months ago, she would still insist on baking when she could. My two favorite things that she would bake were cinnamon cookies and garlic bump bread. As Rabbi Timmer mentioned, she was a TV enthusiast. When 11:30 hit, she had to be in front of the TV. She was also a big fan of the TV show Blue Bloods, as well as the Hallmark Channel and their movies. One of the first shows I can remember my mom and I bonded over was a soap opera that aired on Saturday nights called Sisters. We would always watch it together. For as long as I can remember, my mom always had to have at least one very loud TV on in the house. Even if she was going to sleep, for her, I think the sound of the TV helped to give her some peace. She was also very supportive. I wasn't always the best kid when it came to school, but no matter what, she was always fair and supportive and encouraged me to do my best. As my dad and sister used to joke about me being adopted because of my love of the White Sox, Mom would always ask me how the Sox were doing, even though she leaned toward the blue and red. Mark may be my brother-in-law, but to her, she was a son. She supported him unconditionally in his career change. She would always ask when his licensing tests were and how he did. Other than him and my sister, no one was proud of him. She was also very hardworking. When Stacey and I were younger, she used to volunteer as a PTA mom. The willingness to help others got ingrained in me at a young age. When she used to work at Reach, Rich, and Naylor, I remember her going in at nights or on the weekends, and she would take me with her. I always loved going with her because I got to spend time with her and play solitaire on the computer. I've been at Dick's Sporting Goods for 19 years, and in that time I've missed less than 10 days. I got that hardworking ethic from my mom That hardworking attitude and dedication to my job and coworkers is one of the things I'm most proud of that I got from my mom. After I had actually finished writing that main part of the speech, I was going through a box of my mom's pictures, and as one tends to do, I started reminiscing, and a few more memories popped up that I'd like to share. I realized that I got my penchant for giving my mom headache. My penchant for giving my mom's headache started the minute I was born because I was a huge baby at over 11 pounds. I've always loved going to the zoo, and anytime I went, my mom would always ask if I saw the flamingos. That was a favorite animal, and taken after my dad, I always took pictures to show her. And even though we didn't celebrate Christmas, some of my favorite traditions started because of her. I remember every Christmas Day we'd go see a movie as family. I remember seeing such family classics as Forrest Gump, Titanic, and Saving Private Ryan. It's a tradition I still do every year because of her and my dad. The last tradition involving the holidays was a personal one I started in her honor. Her favorite Christmas movie was the original black and white Miracle on 34th Street. No one actually knows this, even my sister, but when her and my dad started going to Arizona, it became an annual tradition of mine to watch it because it always made me feel close to her, even though she might not have been with me. My mom has said that she loves me and my sister, that we have grown closer since my dad passed. My sister is a rock. She's been amazing in dealing with both my dad and mom. Without her, I would not have been able to handle everything. And, of course, I love her and always will. Even though my mom may not be with us anymore, I always love her, I always think about her, I always cherish the time we had and everything she gave and will continue to give me. Most importantly, I'll always be her sonny boy, as she used to call me to her friends.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
My dear friends, Goldie is no longer in our midst physically, but in the most important sense of the word, the spiritual one, she will always be with us. Why? Well, very simple. She has planted that tree of life. That tree of life, nobody can take away. Goldie's tree of life will continue to make us proud, continue to inspire us, and encourage us to live well, to be good human beings, to live simply, and to make this world better by giving each other love, by supporting one another, and rejoicing in each other's company. So may Goldie's memory be a blessing upon all of us. Let us honor Goldie's memory with a moment of silence. Please rise, and the memorial prayers will follow. אל מלא רחמים שוכם במרומים. אמצע מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים עטורים כזוהר הרקיעים מזהירים. את נשמת גולדי שלחה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתרע בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. וצור בצור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה. ונאמר אמן. God full of mercy, who dwells in the heights, provide a sure rest upon the divine presence's wings within the range of the holy, pure, and glorious, who shine and resemble the skies, to the soul of our beloved Goldie. The Master of Mercy will protect her forever and will bind her soul in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Let us all say, Amen. And finally, my dear friends, we shall say Kaddish. You all know this is the most important memorial prayer in our tradition, but I will remind you, I always do, that Kaddish is not about death. Kaddish is a hymn of praise to God, and therefore it is a hymn of praise to life itself. So we shall honor Goldie's life, we shall honor Goldie's tree of life with the sacred words of our ancient prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabba bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'hayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dachol beit Israel בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי יתקודשה ברכו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהיה שלום רב במין שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. Amen. You may be seated, my friends. Just get my things out of the way.
Thank you, Rabbi. Friends, this does conclude the services here at the chapel. The family will be at the Continental Restaurant for a gathering and a meal of consolation, and they're inviting everyone to join them. Again, at the Continental at 788 South Buffalo Grove Road. As they leave here today, they'll be gathering at the Continental Restaurant. The family has also requested that any memorial contributions in Goldie's memory to either the Susan G. Komen Foundation or to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And all of that information is available in the service folder that you should have received when you came into the chapel today. If you did not receive it when you came in, we do have those for you as you leave. And for those of you joining us online, all of the information regarding the gathering and memorial contributions is available on our website. This time, I would ask everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the family and the rabbi from the chapel.